when I first moved to LA, you know, I was a poor virgin. I can't put this in my video. What am I doing? Not to jump on the bandwagon and not to follow the trend, because I do feel like this is a video that I've been seeing pop up a lot. And I don't know if that's just the algorithm or if that's because everyone, you know, is mass exiting Los Angeles, but I left LA. We lived it, we experienced it, a solid, you know, 9 years. We did it. Currently, I am back in the Midwest, and I am here for a few months plus. It's kind of a bit up in the air right now, which is okay because it feels like the whole world is up in the air right now. And I think, you know, moving across the country was already a big enough choice for the year that we can just figure it out as we go. I can't say that I grew up dreaming of moving to LA. It wasn't until I experienced sort of leaving and touring and visiting friends and being outside of what I'd always known that I was like, oh, okay, cool. There's a whole world out here, and there's nothing holding me back. There's nothing holding me back. There was no plan. I didn't have a lot of money saved up. I had maybe enough to go a few months, and I just hit the ground running when I got there. I said yes to a lot of things. I was in a lot of things. Some of those things paid me. Some of those things did not. Some of those things aired. Some of those things did not. Many of those things did not. I had the very rare experience in Los Angeles of living in the same apartment with the same person for all 9 years. My fixed sign ass so appreciates that I got to like nest in one room, and I eventually got it to the place where it was like, everything is where I want it. And then, you know, decided to move across the country. So, you know, we love change when it takes a decade to do. But I haven't always been the best at like making a plan and like following steps slowly. I'm more of a had a vision in the middle of the night. What do we do to make this happen as soon as possible? And like, when can I be there? And I'll figure it out when I get there. That's a little bit more my mode. So this move was a little bit more leaning in the opposite direction of, okay, we're gonna take our time. How do I wanna say this? Because I'm also at a place where I'm trying to figure out how I wanna talk about my life on camera, because I now see both the greatness that's come from sharing a lot about my life, and I also see the trauma that's come from that and into that. I can't predict how I'm gonna feel in 5 minutes, let alone in 5 months. So I just wanna like be gracious in how I'm speaking about things, to give myself the space to just be a person on a path that's growing into it, that's figuring it out, that doesn't really have a template. A good reminder to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, because sometimes I ask questions there that lead to videos. I ask the BBs, you know, what do you want to know about my move from LA, the hows, the whys, the whats, the whatevers, and here's some of the questions that you had. Pieces of B asked, do you feel free? I don't know that free is the feeling that I have. I feel a little bit more constricted, a little bit more stuck right now. And I think that a lot of that is like physical stuff that I'm dealing with. I've had a ton of back pain stuff that's happened. Probably the most painful sort of relapse of that I've had since I was living in Michigan. I'm trying to take it all in as everything is here for me to learn from. Everything, well, you know, try not to fight it. Just give in to it, surrender to it, take this in as an experience. This isn't forever. And then I got this other part of me that's like, bitch, it might be forever. You're not promised to get better. You're not promised to not feel pain because you think that's like the upward trajectory of this. You're just gonna have to work around this. You're gonna have to accommodate yourself, and that's gonna change things. And so, I don't know, physical pain is like it can be very clarifying in a lot of ways of like, what is it that you wanna do? And how are you gonna do it? Tina asked, how has the family dynamic been since you moved back home? Well, you know, I feel like I'm living in a bit of a spy novel right now, because not everyone knows that I'm back. Not everyone would want me to be back, but I'm here. I'm here. And so it is what it is. This is what it feels like. I feel like I'm re-meeting my family for the first time. and I feel like they're re-meeting me. And it's an interesting process to go through when you also are bound by a lot of things, including trauma. And we all have very different ways of dealing with that, or accepting that, or being in proximity to that. That's what we're here to heal, baby. That's what we're here to figure out. That's what we're here to understand, because I knew that I couldn't, whether I wanted to admit it or not, I knew on some level that I couldn't get to the next chapter of what I want for my life until I came back and I tended to this. Kaya asked, was there anything specific that made you decide to move? And if so, do you feel comfortable telling us? The thing that made me realize it's time to go was last December. I just had a conversation with myself. I just asked myself the question, are you happy? And the answer that pretty much came immediately was, I'm not as happy as I could be. And what do you do with that? Do you just sit in that and say, well, I'm not happy, so I guess this is how it is? I looked around and I thought, okay, well, what can I change? What can I do? What can I control? You know, you have the same meal over and over again, and I eat stuff until I get sick of it, which is, I mean, we know my obsession with Potbelly is, I'm only on the edge of maybe being just a little, you know, like maybe needing a little break, but barely. Sometimes you feel like you're living the same day over and over again. I could have stayed in LA. There was no reason I needed to jump out aside from the fact that I felt a door closing. I felt a chapter. I felt like I was spinning my wheels a little bit. I didn't feel as inspired. The way that I deal with that is throwing my ass in the deep end in a different pool. So when I left, I was ready to go. And I was excited to go. And so there have been no regrets. There have been days where I'm definitely like, oh, I miss this. Or I wish I could cuddle Bonnie right now and watch TV. And or I wish I could, you know, go get coffee with Nikki and just see him. But I know that eventually, wherever it is that I end up, the people that want to come see me will come see me. I will still be in LA for work and other things and to visit them. And it's not goodbye for forever. It's just, sometimes you gotta part ways. You gotta send your boat in a different direction, and, you know, make space for all the things that you still have yet to make and still have yet to say. And that's what I'm doing. I'm making space. Glow and Ember wanted to know, how did I break the news to everyone? It was so anticlimactic. This process made me realize how little I ask anyone's opinion before I make a decision. I didn't have individual calls with people. It was just really like a few friends saying, you know, I'm thinking about heading out, and this is sort of the rough plan of how I'm gonna do that, but I think I'm gonna go back to the Midwest for a bit. And I mean, there was like almost no reaction from everyone. Everyone was so cool with it. And even if they hadn't been, I wouldn't have fucking mattered. Breaking the news for me was just sort of slipping it into conversations, letting everyone know, like, hey, so I'm doing this thing. It's gonna happen at this time. Let me know if you want to hang out. The benefit of having traveled a lot and done music and toured and like being able to sort of meet people in a lot of different places and have friends that live in different places, and now thank God for technology and FaceTime, and we just had a year and a half of not being able to see anyone. So I think that also was like a prep for me to be like, okay, I think we can do this, let's go. I just started to, like, when I would have movie nights with Keith, or I would go to the park, or I would see Nikki, or I would sit outside and just, you know, taking it in and realizing all this is temporary. You're not gonna have this when you leave, so just be in it, say goodbye to it, grieve it if you have to, know that when you come back, you'll be different, it'll be different, it'll never fit the same way, but you did it. And so I was really gentle with myself the last 6 months and was saying my goodbyes a lot of times in my head. So when the time came, I really didn't, I mean, I cried a little bit leaving because, you know, saying goodbye to Keith and saying goodbye to Bonnie and leaving this space that I loved, this apartment that there were points in living there that I thought eventually was gonna be me living there on my own, and, you know, the plans in my head that I'm gonna have a studio here, I'm gonna shoot stuff here, and letting go of that, grieving that, knowing that I'm handing that off for possibly something of my own, something different, whatever that's gonna be, and that it's not gonna look like what I thought. and that's okay. Jeremy Shaw asked, what are you most looking forward to? I'm most looking forward to, and this is what I think about when I'm in like my lowest moments, especially with my back stuff. I start looking at apartments in Chicago and I start imagining just being in like a little snow globe of an apartment wrapped in a blanket with like my foster dogs. You know, like drinking a glass of wine and like making dinner for myself and looking out over the city and just knowing that tomorrow I'm gonna sleep in and go to a used bookstore and like sit by the lake. And I'm excited for this vision that I have. And I don't know when or how that vision is going to take place. I'm looking forward to just being in a space of my own and feeling secure, and which, I don't know, I mean, I've never experienced a not month to month, day-to-day life. So, like everything's where I want it, and I can invite friends over, and I don't have to worry about anyone asking permission of anyone. The mess is my own. You know, I've lived primarily with roommates since I left home when I was 18. Jay asked, what do you miss most about LA and what are you glad to be away from? What I miss most about LA are my friends and how much easier it was to see them. And there's a part of me that's like, oh, I wish that I would have taken more advantage of that. But you know, you fall into life and you get busy and you get overwhelmed and time goes by there so quickly. I realize that as extroverted as I can be, and you know, I'm like, there's a huge part of me that's looking at myself now like, bitch, you used to get on stage, you used to perform, you used to travel these places and just like talk to people. Because I think that the past few years I've really just started to see, oh, you could do all those things, but then you really needed downtime. Like, you are very introverted for as extroverted as you can be. I want to be in the corner observing things and then occasionally yell out a little wisecrack and make people laugh, and then I like want to go back into my shell. I'm a little turtle. All right? It's never been more clear. Don't miss the traffic. Don't miss the traffic, but also was never super affected by it. I mean, I don't like being late to things, so that was sort of annoying because I feel like I was still running on Michigan time. I was still like, a mile should take a minute, you know? But I was always listening to podcasts and listening to music and singing along and having a great time, missing my exit over and over again, and just embracing that you know, you think it's gonna be a half an hour, it's not. You're going to the west side, you're gonna be there till 8 p.m., babe. So find a beach, figure it out. Pack a bag for your car, because it is what it is. Find something to do. I also feel like this is a time where a lot of people I know have made some pretty massive, major decisions in their life. It's getting very Midwest. The accent is coming back hard. And I would love to know from those of you who have, what have you been learning? What's the biggest thing that surprised you about, you know, changing your job, moving to a new city, breaking up, maybe some advice that you would love to pass on to other BBs who are at the beginning of those transitions and need a little encouragement. Anyway, say hi to your grandmas for me, because I got places to go, I got people to touch. I like your faces very much, and I will see you when I see you. Also, there are videos over on the WTSF channel, so don't forget about that. We didn't go anywhere. Well, I mean, we went somewhere, but it's still, we're in the same building, you know? So just walk over, knock on the door, say hi, subscribe, and enjoy the absolute mental breakdown I had this week as I yelled at gravity and I told my back to go fuck itself. And now I'm sitting here doing fucking Lamaze breathing, trying to tap my fucking forehead and tell myself, you're okay, it's gonna be okay, when I know that I'm not and it won't be. I hope that I edit this down into something that makes sense. Good luck, future me. You'll be doing this in bed as you're icing your back, and I hope you enjoy the process. I hope it's not strenuous to you. I hope that you are seeing how cute you look, you know? That you're remembering today that you've been relatively pain-free as you're walking around, and that you enjoy that. That you're doing as much as you need to do. And you're doing a great job. Okay.